It seems so cliche to start by saying I don't believe in ghosts, but however, that's where I'm coming from. A few years ago, I moved into a one-bedroom apartment, and it was my first time that I was living on my own. So the apartment block had been built in the 1930s, and I'd been there for a few months when I came home from work one day and went into the bathroom. I saw something strange. The wooden board covering a hole in the ceiling that led to a small attic space lay broken in two pieces on the ground. I examined the broken pieces. The board was an inch thick, and it would have taken a Bruce Lee-type person to break it. I thought the landlord had sent someone to work on the attic. I was frozen stiff with fear. I thought, someone is up there for sure. So later on that night, I emailed the pictures to the landlord asking if anyone had been there. Of course, with an undertone of annoyance since she hadn't warned me. Her reply read, "Please call me as soon as you're able to." So I called, and she explained that her last two tenants had the same thing happen. She promised to replace the board, and of course she did. About a month later, I woke up one night around 4 a.m., and I had so many goosebumps, it felt like someone was rubbing his or hands on me. Everything was silent, but then I heard this sound coming from above my bed. It was a dragging sound, like someone pulling a sack of potatoes. I was frozen stiff with fear. I thought, someone is up there for sure, but there's no way an animal can make that sound. After 5 minutes, I managed to work up the courage to turn on the light and walk to the bathroom. I was armed with a baseball bat, of course. When I looked, I saw the new board covering the hole was broken in two again. I felt sick to my stomach. The dragging sound had stopped, but then I heard something else. Whispering. The sound was clear and coming from the attic. It sounded like children's voices, and all I could hear was one sentence repeated over and over again. "It's your turn. It's your turn." I switched on every light in the apartment to make things feel normal. It was 5 a.m., and it was dark outside. So I decided to watch TV to try and unwind. Then, a fuse blew. So my pet Budgie Dexter, whom I kept in the kitchen, he usually never made a sound at night, but he started to squawk like he was being strangled. I'd never heard them make those noises before. He was basically screaming. So I grabbed my car keys, ran out, and sat in my car and waited till the sun came up. When I saw people walking their dogs, this comforted me enough to go back inside. The front door was open, but I thought I hadn't closed it when I ran outside. So I went into the kitchen to check on Dexter, and he wasn't in his cage. I felt sick again. All my windows were closed, so I looked everywhere inside. When I walked into the bathroom, I heard a splashing. Dexter was half drowned in the toilet. I took him out, washed him up, and dried him off. I was so confused. I had no idea what was happening. So around 8 o'clock in the morning, I called the landlord and gave her a watered-down version of the night. And her reply was, "Oh wow, you heard the whispering too?" So I stayed in that apartment for another 18 months, almost 2 years. I did hear the whispering on a few occasions, and twice the board covering the hole in the ceiling had moved. Although now I live elsewhere, the landlord recently called. She said that her new tenants had begged to speak with me about some of the stuff that's been going on there. I thought to myself, forget it. It's their problem now. One evening when I was in my junior year of high school, my mom and dad went out, leaving me home alone. I had a lot of homework to do, so I spent the whole evening sitting at my desk in my bedroom. My parents left the house around 6 p.m. While I was doing my homework, I put on my headphones and listened to really loud music. There was a big storm that night, and my desk was facing the window so I could see the rain and the lightning outside. My parents got back around 11 p.m. When I saw their car drive up, I took off my headphones, and as soon as my mom opened the front door and came inside, I heard her shout my name. "What on earth happened in here?" she demanded in an angry voice. Confused, I ran downstairs. My mom was standing in the hallway with a furious look on her face. She pointed at the floor and yelled, "Was this you?" I looked down and I saw the carpet was covered in muddy footprints. "I have no idea how those got there," I said. "I spent the whole night at my desk doing my homework." I watched as they looked around, and the looks on their face had changed from anger to confusion, and then to fear. We both realized it at the same time. Someone else must have been in the house. So we followed the trail of footprints, trying to make sense of the whole situation. They started at the back door, which we usually left unlocked. Then we noticed something else. The footprints may have started at the back door, but there was no trail of footprints leaving through the back door. All of a sudden we heard something, a really loud pounding noise that echoed throughout the house. Then the sound of the front door being wrenched open and slammed shut again. Wham! We all ran into the garage and locked the door behind us. My mom took out her cell phone and called the police. "Please come quickly," she shouted. "Someone's in our house." After what seemed like hours, a patrol car arrived with 2 police officers, a male and a female. One officer stayed with us in the garage while his partner went through the house, searching it room by room. When she came back, the female officer told us that there was nobody in the house and it was safe to go back in. As we were all breathing a sigh of relief, she asked, "Whose bedroom is upstairs on the left?" My parents looked at me. "Well, that's my bedroom," I told the officer. She asked us to follow her. As we walked through the house, we could see the trail of muddy footprints leading from the back door, through the living room, through the hallway and up the stairs, into my parents' bedroom, and then towards my room. They stopped at my doorway. The female officer pointed at my door, which had been open the whole night, but scrawled on it in black marker was the following: 8:47 p.m. I see you. 8:53 p.m. You forgot to lock the back door. 8:59. You seem focused. 9:24. Turn around. 9:47. Look at me. 10:15. Look at me. 10:37. Look at me. 10:49. Look at me. For more than 2 hours, someone had been standing in my doorway, watching me. To this day, I still shudder to think what would have happened if I had actually turned around. On the morning of her birthday, Lucy's mother woke her up and told her a package had arrived in the mail, and it was addressed to her. The girl hurried up and unwrapped the package and was horrified at what she found inside. It was the most disgusting old doll she had ever seen. It was completely bald, and its skin was cracked and caked in dirt. The worst thing of all was its teeth. They were long, pointy, sharp, and beastly. They looked like some sort of animal's fangs. With a shiver, she took the doll and threw it in a corner. Her mother scolded her, telling her that someone had gone through a lot of trouble to send her that antique doll. Her mother told her she had better appreciate it. Lucy tried to protest, but her mother would not listen. She forced the young girl to keep the doll. So, to put her mind at rest, Lucy stuffed the antique doll into the little cupboard under the stairs, behind the pile of shoes where she wouldn't have to look at the ugly, evil little thing. It was not until a few nights later, when Lucy was laying in bed and she heard a noise, a shuffling sound, which went on for about 5 minutes. Then a brief dragging noise, and finally a scuttling like footsteps walking very fast. By now Lucy was shaking her head in bed with fear, unable to move. Then she thought she heard a faint, raspy voice whispering quietly from downstairs. Lucy always slept with the door open and the landing light on, as she was a little scared of the dark. She heard the voice say, "Lucy, I'm on the first step," and then a loud, scrabbling noise again, as whatever was speaking apparently turned tail and returned to its place of hiding. Lucy was so scared that she didn't sleep a wink that night, but laid in fear until the break of dawn when her mother got her up for school. Lucy tried to explain to her mother what had happened the night before, but she was so tired that when her mother passed it off as just a dream. She began to believe it might be the case, but of course it wasn't. Lucy had begged her parents to let her throw the antique doll in the garbage, but insisted that it was a present and that she had to keep it. So Lucy reluctantly went back to bed, telling herself that it had only been a dream. She checked the cupboard under the stairs, but the doll was exactly where Lucy had left her that night. Lucy fought sleep, but she eventually drifted off even though she had fought to stay awake. Presently, the deep, disembodied voice woke her up again. She wondered if she could only hear it in her head. "Lucy, I'm on the 4th step," it said. Then came the scuffling noises, and the voice didn't reoccur that night. Lucy was crying by now, and again, she didn't sleep that night. At school, Lucy told her friends about the doll, and of course they laughed at her. Lucy could only think that if the doll was climbing 4 steps at a time, that there was only one more night to go. That night, Lucy decided to shut her bedroom door. When her mother turned out her light, she asked why Lucy was no longer scared of the dark. Lucy replied that she was, and could she leave her light on instead of the hall light. But her mother pointed out that her bedroom light was so bright that it would keep her awake, and she said no. Therefore, Lucy agreed to just sleep without a light. She opened the bedroom curtains instead to light the room a little anyway. Just as she began to doze, she heard the noise, and the voice came. Very, very clear this time. "Lucy, I'm on the top step." In the darkness of her bedroom, Lucy heard a click and trembled with fear. She wasn't sure, but she thought she could see her bedroom door opening very, very slowly. The next morning, Lucy's parents found her body at the bottom of the stairs. They guessed that she had been on her way to the toilet during the night and in the darkness slipped and fallen down the stairs, breaking her neck. The antique doll was found beside her body and was buried with Lucy. Everyone said what a tragedy it was. "She loved that doll," said her mother. "Now they can be together forever." If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.